Details for each certificate representing ownership in the company is viewed on the Certificates form. The form can be accessed using the Owner Register button under All Forms on the navigation toolbar. Press the Certificates button on the Owner Register and the certificate form appears. A quicker way to access a form is to press the Owner Register bar on the navigation toolbar, then press the Certificates button. The form can also be accessed by selecting Owner Register from the Data Files menu at the top of the screen, then press the Certificates button on the Owner Register. The Certificates form contains a list of certificates, both active and surrendered, for each company in the database. All of the data for each certificate can be seen by scrolling to the right. The list contains an audit trail for each certificate. Surrendered certificates indicate the certificate number or numbers that replaced them in the Replaced By column, while the Replaced column indicates the certificate or certificates that are replaced by the currently selected certificate. Select the name of the company in the tabs at the top of the form, and the certificates for that company appear in the list. Notice that the total certificates number changes based on the company that's selected. The types of ownership are indicated at the top of the form. You can hide or show specific types of certificates by checking or unchecking the type of ownership. Notice that the number for displayed certificates changes depending on which type of ownership is selected. If all types of ownership are selected, the number for displayed certificates equals the number of total certificates. Surrendered certificates are highlighted in green. You can hide the surrendered certificates and only show the currently active certificates by selecting the Hide Surrendered Share Units option. Notice that the number of displayed certificates changes again for the number of certificates currently in the display. The Type column indicates the type of ownership represented by each certificate. This identifying character can be changed in the Titles for Ownership form in the Tools menu. The list can be sorted by any of the columns just by clicking on the column header. The last three columns contain information on which certificates replaced or were replaced by other certificates, and the date surrendered certificates, highlighted in green, were replaced. If you want to change some of the data for a certificate, double-click the row and the data form appears for that certificate. Only certain data can be changed using this form. If data in one of the disabled boxes needs to be changed, the entire transaction must be deleted and re-entered. This is because of the number of interdependencies of just one certificate. Let's select and double-click one of the surrendered certificates. It appears in a green form, and you'll notice that more of the text boxes are disabled. If the certificate is surrendered, another certificate or certificates have replaced it. To change data on the surrendered certificate can cause the data on the replacement certificate or certificates to be invalid. It can get very complicated depending on the number of certificates that have been replaced in the entire sequence. And that's why certificates that follow in the sequence need to be deleted before a certificate can be changed. If you want to see the transaction that the certificate is in, select the certificate and press the View Purchase button. If the certificate has been surrendered and another certificate or certificates replaced it, press the View Sale button to see that transaction. The transaction form is covered in detail in a separate tutorial movie, but just to give you an idea of how powerful this form is, double-click a certificate in the transaction form. Depending on whether the certificate is in the Replaced or Replaced By list, the transactions can be followed from one transaction to another, as if you were following the branches of a family tree for that certificate. Pretty cool. Let's go back to the Certificates form. There's a button called Create a Transaction that opens the Enter Transactions form. This is where a transaction is initially entered into the database. This is covered in another tutorial movie, so we won't discuss it here. There's also a Delete Transactions button. It's titled Delete Transaction rather than Delete Certificate because all of the certificates in a given transaction must be deleted together when one of the certificates is deleted. You can determine what certificates are in the transaction by pressing either the View Purchased or View Sale button. The Print Certificates button prints a physical certificate for the selected certificate, and it's covered in another tutorial movie. This concludes a tutorial for the Certificates form.